Good morning. You are listening to National Real Estate Auction Radio Show. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city, at WFOY 1240 AM studios. The show will be archived on RAL Auctions, as they are the host of this program. Additionally, the show will be posted on YouTube.com. We are going to be talking about real estate auctions, past auctions, upcoming auctions. We have lots of topics today. And to help us out, we are going to really start something different. We're going to have an open forum today. That means people can call in. We're going to be talking about the Civilian Property Realignment Act. I've got actually a copy from an article that's calling it the auction bill. GOP senator to propose auction of federal properties to pay down deficit. And so we can talk about that. It's a great idea, but let's go to our first caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Doug. Ed Delgado at 5 Star.
Ed, how are you doing, sir?
Well, thanks. How are you today?
Well, thank you. First of all, tell us, before we get into this topic, and again, this is a new segment. Usually I don't do this as an open forum, but you are from the 5 Star Conference and 5 Star Institute. What is that? And I know that you have got a great conference coming up, but tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, well, the 5 Star Institute really amounts to be a trade association for mortgage banking and real estate professionals. We host national conferences. Our biggest conference takes place this year between September 11th and September 13th in Dallas at the Hilton Anatole. Keynote speakers will be former President George W. Bush and Mayor Rudy Giuliani. We're expecting about 4,000 to 5,000 people in attendance.
Okay, Ed, I'm not getting your call in real loud and clear.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
Let me switch off for a second.
Okay.
Doug, is that better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay, super. Sorry about that. So
no problem.
Our big national conference will take place on September 11th through September 14th in Dallas at the Hilton Anatole. President George W. Bush, Mayor Rudy Giuliani will be in attendance as keynote speakers. And the entire event really is quite spectacular. There's an enormous amount of curriculum, presentations, panel discussions from the top executives and industry experts. So we're looking forward to those dates in September.
Well, that's excellent. I've been there several times. It is the place to go for real estate people and lenders and government officials, and I've actually had the opportunity to speak there at a seminar. So I'm about auctions. So I'm thrilled that it's going so well. I was there when there was like 4,000 people. So, with the president and Mayor Giuliani, you must be going crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the main hotel is sold out, unfortunately, but there's still Dallas is a big place. So
yes.
Plenty of nearby hotels, but the Hilton Anatole sold out about a week ago. That's housing all the attendees for the conference. But you're right, it is quite the franchise, 5 Star conference and expo with over 150 exhibitors in attendance in the hall. It is, again, the single largest gathering of mortgage executives in the country. So if you're still interested to register, please go to our website at www.the5star.com, and I do believe we still are accepting registrations for the conference that again takes place on September 11th through the 13th.
Well, it is a big place. That hotel is just huge and a perfect place for your conference. Let's talk about our topic. I'm going to read you, if you bear with me for just a second. The topic is basically this auction bill, and I'm going to read you an article that I found on the website a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It says GOP senator to propose auction of federal properties to pay down deficit. And it's by Josiah Ryan. It was on the internet on 8/4/11. It says Senator Scott Brown, a Republican from Massachusetts, plans to propose legislation that would order the auction of up to 45,000 unused or underused government properties in order to raise funds to reduce the nation's deficit, the Boston Herald reported on Thursday. Brown said he expects his legislation could raise up to $15 billion toward deficit reduction while streamlining the management of federal assets. There is a tremendous amount of surplus property, Brown said. We could save over $15 billion. That's real money. We'd be converting underutilized real estate into reductions in the federal deficit. The legislation would appoint a 7-person commission to select properties and organize the sale. According to a description of the legislation released by Brown's office, the chairman of that commission would require confirmation by the Senate. The bill will be co-sponsored by Representative Jeff Denham, who's a Republican from California, and could be included as one of the yet-to-be-determined deficit-cutting measures in next year's budget. And pretty exciting, and I did give you a heads up on this and was hoping that you would call. What's your initial thoughts? And again, you are a leader in the real estate industry. Good idea, bad idea? What do you think?
It's an interesting concept. I understand the corollary to reducing the budget deficit.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious in reading some of the initial language associated with the bill.
Yep.
You have to spend money to save money, and I always become a little bit cautious when a number like $15 billion is tossed out there. By trade, I'm an analyst.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to understand how do you come up with that number? Just because you have a significant amount of surplus properties that are available for disposition doesn't mean you have a strategic plan in effect to attract buyers, the qualifications for those buyers, the introduction and use of those properties as they're disposed of. So that gives me pause. Probably more importantly is right up front, and correct me if I'm off here,
Mm-hmm.
I believe the bill calls for a one-time expenditure of $88 million to set up the panel.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. I mean, everybody wants to reduce the budget deficit. $15 billion is a meaningful number.
It sure is, yep.
I'm not understanding how you intend to do that in a soft real estate market, and there's a contagion and corollary between residential real estate and commercial real estate, and now real estate owned by the government.
Mm-hmm.
It's soft. So who came up with the pricing model to say this has $15 billion in potential? I'm sure that proponents of the bill said, yeah, we've looked at this, and this is what we feel is available in terms of total assets.
Mm-hmm.
Rolling that through some form of consolidation makes sense, and the conversion of that property makes sense. But I haven't. Maybe it's just I haven't seen it, and it's there. I don't know how you do it.
I'm not sure either, and I'm sure that's a guess, an estimate, of course. And this correlates, and again, this bill is being proposed by 2 Republicans. However, by remarks by the president on the budget in Baltimore, Maryland, on February 14th of this year, one of his remarks was, as he's talking about getting the budget down and saving cost, quote, to take just one example, by getting rid of 14,000 office buildings, lots, and government-owned properties we no longer need, we can save taxpayers billions of dollars. So I think this has got bipartisan interest. In fact, the first bill, again, was done by the House, and that's the H.R. Bill 1734 IH, and that was put in there, I think, in May, and it's about this by Congressman Denham. and it's got 26 co-sponsors, which is amazing. So I think everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon of saving, not only saving money, but coming up with monies for the budget. And this should not only be, I believe, on a national basis, but on a state level and a county level. And we're not talking about houses. We're talking about office buildings, land. This is what I think they have. And you know better than anyone that it costs money to have a property. It costs money to keep up. If you don't keep it up, then it depreciates. And so not only are they getting rid of, hopefully, properties that they're not using in a deteriorating in price and value, affecting their neighbors, by the way, but they're going to raise money, and then as the final perfect thing is they'll go into the hands of an end user who will be paying taxes. So it's a win-win, I think. And again, I'm thrilled because they're talking about auctions. I'm in the auction business. I'm not an auctioneer. I'm an auction project manager, but have done many government auctions. Have been very successful for the government, for the taxpayers, for everybody. I guess last time around, when we did the RTC, Resolution Trust Corporation, brokers were concerned that, just like you indicated a little bit, that this is a flooded market with properties. Back then, it was a very big concern for brokers that you're going to damage the market, and this is not a good thing. And I don't believe it did that. And again, you're in Texas, and we did a lot of RTC work in Texas, and the brokers finally embraced it because they were getting commissions from bringing a buyer or helping the auction company represent on the seller side. And in many cases, sometimes the brokers actually bought. So I think auctions are a little bit different than they were back in the RTC days, back in 91. I think I did my first RTC auction. Do you get a feeling from then? Again, you deal with the brokers all the time. What do you think? Auctions are a better mix, better idea than it was 20 years ago?
Yeah, I do. You're not going to get disagreement with me on the value of auctions.
Okay.
Expedient solution that rapidly disposes of distressed asset, restores stabilization to surrounding markets and communities, both in the commercial, industrial, and residential side of the market. I do want a bit of a rewind, maybe a counterpoint to what you were saying.
Okay.
If I can, Doug.
Yeah.
By the way, thank you for giving me some time on your show this morning. I do appreciate it. I get the sense that it's political suicide for any member of the House or the Senate to go against any legislation that is labeled as cost-effective or reducing the deficit. No one's going to raise their hand and say, I don't want any part of that. Let's increase the deficit. So I think that the $15 billion on this particular bill is somewhat sensationalized. It's getting a lot of coverage. Where I take pause, not criticism, where I take pause is in how are you going to attract the buyers. And when we look at the disposition of property types, in some of the information that's been shared, very limited goes to family housing. I doubt very much that an abandoned federal warehouse or weapons range is going to do much to stabilize surrounding values of properties, whether it's commercial or residential. So, you're going to save $15 billion potentially over 3 years, but what are the incentives to attract the buyers and get them to the table to bid effectively to liquidate the property? Now, that's a great segue into your comment about the efficiencies of auctioneering of any type of distressed asset. I love it. I think it works great. You set a base price. You have decision-based pricing models.
models built in. You know that you're going to get pennies on the dollar, but the upside is you're going to eliminate the cost of capital associated with property maintenance and upkeep, and that's precisely what the bill is looking to do. Let's get rid of properties that are costing taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars every year that serve no practical value. I get it, and I support it. Where I stumble in is on the how. How are you going to do this?
Okay.
What are the investors? Show me how you have a very well thought out strategic plan to attract investors to the table to say, look, we're going to give you some tax breaks. We're going to get you to bid effectively. We're going to have a form of due diligence that we set up. This is a structured transaction that has immediate impact to the deficit. Then I get excited. Then it makes sense. That I haven't seen. So it's a great idea. I don't know that it's a great plan because I don't know what the plan is.
Well, I think they're in the beginning stages, and I want to shout out to Congressman Denham from the House, and he's in California for putting this together, along with Scott Brown from the Senate. He's from the Boston, Massachusetts area. I think it's an idea that as time has come. You gave me a good segue, so I have to take advantage of it. Auctions equal fairness and transparency. One of the things that auctions do is that they allow everybody to bid on the same playing field. Same terms, same down payment, same closing time. If there was financing, which I don't know if there's going to be financing or not, that would be the same for everybody. These kind of things, I believe, are going to help the brokers because they're going to get commissions. They're going to work with the auctioneers, and also what brokers would do when we work with them. And let's just come up with an idea. All right, there's an office building, in Topeka, Kansas, and it's going to be sold by the federal government. And so there's brokers there that are contacting their people in the area, and of course, across the country, around the world, actually. But if it's a nice big office building, those brokers are going to be talking to their clients. And obviously, if they win the bid, they're going to get paid a commission, a cooperating broker commission. But sometimes, there's only one winner. So all those brokers that were talking to other buyers, they either lost out or they said, that's a 10-story office building. I'm only looking for a 5-story. It gives them an opportunity to say, no problem, let me get to work, and I'll find you something. And that's why I know it has been good for brokers and will be good for brokers. I think it's also good for the investors, the people who buy them, because then they're going to fix up the property and they're going to, pay for goods and services, and so that's a no-brainer. It's good for the government. They no longer pay for upkeep on properties and possible vandalism, depreciation. It's good for the neighbors and nearby properties. You know that you're as good as your weakest link in the area. And even though you've got a great building, if 2 buildings down, you've got a property that has not been kept up, has not been used, that hurts your value. It's good for taxpayers because those properties would end up having end users, owners, who would pay taxes. And good for government because the sales of the sale and the monies would help with the budget. And the last thing, I think it's good for the government and taxpayers because additional monies mean less chance of raising taxes. And that's good for, the lawmakers who hate to do it, and good for people like you and I who hate to pay it. So those are my kind of rebuttals, the reason why I think it will be a good idea. Has a long way to go, but and again, I am so thrilled that you called me and came on the show because you are a VIP in the area. I appreciate your counterpoints, and we're going to have other people on the show. Tell us your website one more time, Ed, because your 5-star conference is the best in the country, I believe, for this type of venue.
Yep. No, I again appreciate your comments, and as always, to your listeners, respect your opinions. They're always very well laid out, and it's always good to have a healthy debate. So I enjoyed being on your show this morning. The website again is www.the5star.com. That is for the 5-Star Institute. Our National Mortgage Default Servicing Conference and Expo will take place in Dallas at the Hilton Anatole on September 11th through the 13th, with our featured keynote being former President George W. Bush and Mayor Rudy Giuliani, formerly the mayor of New York. And Doug, I hope to see you at the conference and soon in Dallas.
Very good. Ed, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a great day, sir.
Bye-bye now.